Cattell personality factor. Okay, so we're discussing what? We're discussing trait theories. Okay, so we are going to discuss what? We're going to discuss Cattell's personality factors. Okay. Chalo bhai. What did he do? Now, so this was actually given by whom? This was given by Raymond Cattell. Fine. And he believed that there are common factors, or you can say common structures, on which people differ from each other. Okay. Okay, now see guys, there are huge number of words, right? Or you can say a huge number of adjectives that we use to define a personality, isn't it? We have used different kinds of adjectives, like again, sociable, happy-go-lucky, outgoing. These are what? These are adjectives only, right? Okay. So now, what did Cattell do? Cattell basically used factor analysis. Okay. This is like if you have ever done maths, you would know that you like take out a common factor. हम HCF LCM करते हैं ना, something like that. Fine. So what he did here was factor analysis. Means what? Let me explain. So suppose what I'm writing over here, suppose I've written a bunch of features. Okay? So I'm writing outgoing, sociable, happy, makes friends. Okay. Patient. Okay. So suppose these are the features that I have written. So I have written a bunch of features over here. Okay. Outgoing, sociable, happy, makes friends. Now, if I have to use one term for all of these features, what term can I use? So, if I have to use one term for all of these features, can I use extrovert? Can I use this term? Right? That is what it means by factor analysis. Okay. So you give me a bunch of features, and instead of using those bunch of features, I take out one common term which will help me in explaining all of these features, right? So when I say that a person is extrovert, you all can guess that the person is going to be sociable, likable, loves going out, loves making friends, would be happy in a crowded situation, isn't it? So this is what factor analysis means. Okay. Now, so he has used what? He has used factor analysis. Okay. So he's used factor analysis and he has found out that there are 16 primary traits. Okay. So what has he found out? So I'm rubbing this off, guys. This was given by whom? This was given by Raymond Cattell. 16 primary traits. Okay. This is according to him. This is according to Cattell. We are not saying that this is the scientific truth. Fine. You can have as many traits as possible, isn't it? So he says that there are 16 primary stable traits in an individual. You'll understand what I'm trying to say over here. So now, what he says is there are two types of traits. Okay. One, you have the source trait, which is stable, and these are the building blocks of personality. Okay. What is it? We have source traits. Okay, these are what? These are stable and building blocks of personality. Okay, what do you mean by this? See guys, there are certain traits in us, there are certain traits with which we are born, right? There are certain traits that we develop over time, and these are traits which are very important to us, right? These are stable traits which is not going to change over time, okay? So okay, let's take an example. Fine. Suppose one of the traits, okay, हम example लेंगे, suppose, let's take an example of Hitler, like yesterday we had taken. So one of the most important traits of Hitler was what? One of his most important traits was his patriotism, right? He wanted to make Germany great again. And once again, I want to point out, I'm not saying that what he has done with the Jews and what he has done in Poland and what he has done in the world wars is forgivable. Absolutely not. He was a horrendous person. He was literally, he should have been sued for committing genocide. But there's a very thin line between patriotism and terrorism. Terrorists jo hai na, they also think, oh, they're the biggest shaheed, right? But that's not the case. But Hitler started with it. Hitler started with patriotism and went on to commit genocide. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about his core trait. I'm talking about that trait which is absolutely important to us, around which our life revolves, okay? And that trait for Hitler was patriotism, right? He wanted to see Germany being great again. He did anything he could. Right, wrong did not matter for him as long as Germany was on top. Fine. That is your source trait. That is stable. That is not going to change, isn't it? For some people, truthfulness is their source trait. It is not going to change. It is going to remain the same all throughout their life. They will value truthfulness above everything else. Okay? That's your source trait. Fine. Then we have a number of surface traits. Okay? So, okay. What is surface trait? That result out of interaction between, that result out of interaction between your source traits. Okay? So, what is surface trait? Results out of interaction between the source traits. Okay? So, all right. Let's take an example of Gandhiji. What do you think was Gandhiji's source trait? His source trait was non-violence, fine. And I think other was that he wanted to see this country free but united. Okay? That did not happen, but let's take it for an example. Okay? That was Gandhiji's source trait. Okay? Surface trait is something which results because of the interaction between the two traits. Okay? So, what do you think was his surface trait? If you are reading your class 12 history and when you come to Gandhiji's chapter, you will see that even in the worst case possible, he did not abandon his non-violent methods. Right? Even when India was on the verge of violence, of genocide, of all sorts of crimes being committed against, certain community, against Hindus, against Muslims, जो partition में हुआ था, which happened in partition, he was still, he was still holding on to that particular trait, which was what? Which was non-violence, isn't it? So whatever you see on the surface, all those movements that you see, be it the non-cooperation, the Quit India, the Dandi March, whatever movements you see, civil disobedience, all had a crux behind, and that was non-violence. Okay, so surface is what? Surface is those traits which you see on the surface, which can be seen in your behavior, and it is a result of your source trait. Okay, so suppose if I say that my source trait is being patient, fine. So that is something which is going to be visible on the surface as well, isn't it? So that is what he has found out. All right. So he says that personality is something which is guided by our personal traits, which is guided by our source traits and surface traits. Okay. All right. Now, he also developed a test which was known as the 16 personality factor questionnaire. We will learn about these tests in the assessment part. Okay. Okay.